Happy Passover. Welcome to Shepherd's Rest Passover of 2017. I thought that we'd do this a little differently. I'm going to read the scripture and we're going to do a quick discussion and then we'll move on with the Seder. First, I'd like to thank you all for coming and welcome you all. We're going to start with Exodus 12, verse 3. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of you is to take for himself a lamb according to his house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for a lamb, let him and his neighbors next to his house take it according to the number of their beings. According to each man's need, take to the count of the lamb. So this was to make sure that everyone was included, but there was not an excessive amount of lambs. One person would not just take a lamb to offer to the Lord as a part of the Passover offering because you have a waste. This is meant to be done together in unison as family and friends come together. So one lamb, they said anywhere between 8 to 10 people, usually. So if you have a household of 5 and you have another household of 5, those two households would get together to celebrate Passover. As you see your table, some of you are by family, some of you are a mixed group. Hey, we're doing exactly that idea of understanding that we're going to share a Passover lamb. Now, granted, we do not do the Passover lambs now because there is no temple, but we have the eternal, the great Passover lamb who gave himself for us, and that is the lamb that we are able to partake in. One day when there's another temple, then it'll be another story. We will actually be able to be in a situation that we can not only participate in the heavenly Passover lamb, but also on the earthly one. Let's keep looking. Verse 5, let the lamb be a perfect one, 1 year old. Take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same day of the new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slay it between the evenings, and they shall take some of its blood and put it on the 2 doorposts of the lintel of the house where they eat it. Okay, between the evenings has to do with the twilights, when the sun is moving and then falling. So these are between the hour of 9 a.m. and the hour of 3 p.m. when they are to be slain. This is between the continual offering, which, as we discussed last week with the Torah portion, we have the lamb in the morning and the lamb in the evening. Messiah was the lamb of the morning. Remember, the lamb who takes away the sins of the world, and he was the Passover lamb. So he was on the cross at 9 in the morning. And then when he declared it was finished at 3 p.m. is when the high priest was looking towards Mount of Olives. Yeshua's on the Mount of Olives on the cross looking towards him. And they're saying in unison, it's finished. It's done. All right. The Passover event is done. And we have Messiah being the continual offering and everything in between. All the Passover events of that day were enclosed in him. He encompassed them all. So when we look here at between the evenings, that's what happened today. Earlier this morning is when you would have cleaned out all of the leaven of your houses, made sure it was all out, and they would have been going to the temple with their lambs. And it actually would have started yesterday as well. When the temple was here. It was a 2-day event because obviously there are so many lambs. You're talking 250,000 lambs to be slaughtered in a very small time frame. A lot of priests, very busy. Verse 8, and they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire, with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boil it with any water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its inward parts. Do not leave it until the morning, and what remains of it in the morning, you shall burn it with fire. During this event in Egypt, when they went and got the lambs, remember they had the lambs for 4 days on the 10th of Nisan. That would have been Thursday for us, I think. And then they would have kept it with them. Then we come up to this date, and now they're offering it to the Lord. When they did that, it was to remain looking like a lamb. It was to be strapped on the hands, strapped on the feet, and then there was a pole that was shoved through it and then another shoved through it. Kind of interesting, kind of like two stakes put on a tree. So think about this. You have a lamb, all right, or a goat. You have this, it's been seared with the pole, okay? It looks just like the animal that it is, and it's being roasted. So for all the times that it's being roasted, for that amount of time, it looks just like it is. Think of Messiah on the cross. The whole time he's going through that, between 9 and 3, he looks just like, still like a man per se, but he's so marred that he doesn't look like a man, but he has the form of a man. We know that it's a person up there, right? So it's the same idea. This lamb looks just like it is, no broken bones. Messiah looked just like a man, no broken bones. It had to be that way because he was our Passover lamb. Just like we have here, I'm bringing you from Egypt out of your physical bondage into physical freedom. We have the spiritual with Messiah. Yet this lamb is always pointing to the foreshadow. Now, we know there's going to be another great exodus, right? We know this. So when that great exodus comes, we can't lose sight of seeing the pattern, all right? You know, it says that when the great exodus comes, the next one, we're not even going to remember this one in Egypt. Well, you know, that's because we already have the one in Egypt, then we have the one with Messiah, and then we'll have the last one, which will be the one going into millennium. I mean, think about that. That's going to overshadow everything because it's going to be that final piece of the puzzle that when it's put in, everything makes sense. It becomes one whole picture instead of 3 parts of a picture. Moving on to 11, it says, and this is how you eat it, with your loins girded and your sandals on your feet and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it with haste, for this is the Pesach of the Lord. See, this is not the Jews, this is of the Lord. Of course we all partake of it. He asked us to. And I shall pass through the land of Egypt on that night, and shall strike all the firstborn of the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and on all the mighty ones of the Egyptians I shall execute judgment. I am Yahweh. And the blood shall be as a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I shall pass over you. And let the plague not come to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. And this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as the feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Celebrate it as a festival, an everlasting law. Hey, you're keeping a mitzvah just by being here. This is an everlasting law to keep this. Again, like I said, you want to know what Yeshua did? He kept Passover. He participated in this just like we are. We really are getting to walk out the way he showed us to. Let's talk real quick about this. So we have the blood, right, was put on the doors, and they're eating this in haste. You know, it makes me wonder if a part of the whole idea of the rapture didn't actually come from this. We're to always be ready, girded our loins, ready, right? So if we know there's a third exodus coming, per se, I'm counting Yeshua and there's a second. So there's a great exodus coming, and we are to be anticipating that. Doesn't that kind of sound like where a rapture idea might have come from? Just some food for thought. So I would suggest that we eat this still with the anticipation of what is to come next. We still look forward to this. We have Messiah's blood on us. Hopefully, if you're here, you are walking in Messiah. And we see right here that they did it on the on the doorpost of their house so that the angel would go by. But it's not just the angel would go by, it's that it protected. See, there's an olive tav in this verse. So when the protection comes over us, comes over those who are in their houses eating this, it's because the olive tav, the blood of Messiah, is upon them. Even right here, it's the blood of Messiah. Understanding the Lord had it set up. When he went by, he understood, you people are sealed by my son. You people are sealed by the Father and the Son that are going to work together. Without them even knowing it, just by being obedient, they were in that seal. That's why it's so important that we're obedient to what he's called us to do, even when we don't understand it, because it allows us to walk in his seal, in his protection. See, they were protected. Why? Because they are obedient. That's why they are protected. Moving to verse 15. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Indeed, on the first day you shall cause leaven to cease from your house. That's today. It should all be out. For whoever eats of unleavened bread on the first day until the seventh day, that being shall be cut off from Israel. And on the first day it is a holy gathering, and on the seventh day you are to have a holy gathering. No work is to be done on them. Only that which is eaten by every being, that alone is to be prepared by you. And you shall guard this festival of matzah. For on the same day I brought your divisions out of the land of Egypt, and you shall guard this day throughout your generations as an everlasting law. Again, there's that everlasting law. I mean, this isn't just over because they went out of Egypt. This isn't just over because Messiah died on a cross. This will be forever. And since this is forever, that means that even that great Exodus that's coming, that we're not going to talk about this, if this is an everlasting law, then something must be happening on this date, because this will be an everlasting law. Just food for thought. Something's happening at Passover again that's going to allow us to continue in this everlasting law with great celebration, great enthusiasm, but it's going to even overshadow the great miracles that happen in Egypt. So for 7 days, we are not going to eat leaven. This is actual work out your salvation because everyone's looks a little different. We've got the bread part down. If it's bread puffy, don't eat it. Don't eat it. Cakes, things like that, you don't eat. But from there, you need to search out on your own. You need to see what things you're going to consider where your fences are going to go. All right. So for 7 days, no eating it. But listen, it says even more so that it says 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. So you're not going to eat leaven, but you're going to eat unleavened bread. See, we get to, again, positive commandment, participate. Have a little matzah. Have communion. Have a little glass of wine and matzah every night to remember, hey, there was enough time to let the bread rise. They were in a hurry. They had to eat that, all right? They ate that. The Lord sustained them for 7 days. Like 7,000 years, the Lord sustains us until we get to the millennium, and then even through there. But my point is that he is our provider, our El Shaddai. He provides everything. He provided for them for 7 days. He's going to provide for us 7,000 years. Now for verse 18. And in the first month, on the 14th day of the new moon, in the evening, you shall eat the unleavened bread until the 21st day of the new moon of the evening. For 7 days no leaven is to be found in your houses, and if anyone eats what is leavened, and the same being shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether sojourner or a native of the land. People, it doesn't matter if you're born Jew or you're born Gentile. You come into Israel, you accept Messiah, this is for all of us. And verse 20 says, do not eat that which is leavened in your dwellings, but you are to eat unleavened bread. Well, that wraps up our discussion of Exodus 12, and I hope you got a little nugget out of it. And let's continue with the Seder.